Dr. Dara Thompson. I'm the chair of the Naturopathic Medical Committee. Briefly showing you my video just to say hi, and then I'm going to turn that off so that we don't use up all the bandwidth. And at this point, I would like to, do we start with calling to order or roll call? Sorry, I'm having a...
No worries. You're going to go ahead and call to order.
Perfect. Thank you. So I'm going to call to order the February 25th, 2021 teleconference meeting of the Naturopathic Medical Committee. It is 9:01 a.m. And Rebecca, could you do a brief roll call for us?
Yes, thank you. Dr. Dara Thompson?
Present.
Dr. Greta D'Amico?
Present.
Thank you. Dr. Vera Singleton?
Present.
Thank you. Dr. Quinn will be late. Dr. Bruce Davidson?
Present.
Thank you very much. Dr. Mina Yoon?
Present.
Thank you. And Ms. Shirley Worrells?
Present.
Great, thank you very much. And we have a quorum.
Wonderful. At this time, we're going to move on to agenda item 2, public comment on items not on the agenda.
Great, thank you. During agenda item number 2, the committee would like to open up the meeting to public comments for items not on the agenda. Please remember that the committee may not discuss or take action on the matter raised during the public comment section, except to decide whether to place the matter on the agenda of a future meeting per Government Code Sections 111125 and 11125.7a. Additionally, we would like to remind the public that if you have comments in regard to any of the agenda items for today's meeting, please hold those comments until the agenda item has been called upon. We will take public comments on specific agenda items during that time.
This is the moderator, and at the direction of the committee, I have opened the Q&A panel. If you would like to make a public comment, please click on the question mark within the square in the lower right-hand corner of your screen and type, "I would like to make a public comment." Resources for you to follow will be displayed on the screen. I will now pause a moment to allow individuals time to access this feature. It does not appear we've received any requests for public comment. Would you like me to close this feature?
Please do. Thank you.
Feature has been closed.
Thank you so much. At this point, we are going to move on to agenda item 3, which is election of officers. I'm going to pass this one to our executive officer, Rebecca, as I'm currently the chair.
Great, thank you so much. For agenda item number 3, we have the election of officers. All officer positions are elected on an annual basis. The chair and/or vice chair duties include, but are not limited to, attend and testify at legislative hearings and oversight review, also known as the sunset hearing. All communications relating to the committee action or policy to any individual or organization shall be made only by the chair of the committee, his or her designee, vice chair, or executive officer. Review and approval of executive officer's attendance and vacation use. Monthly contact with executive officer for updates, issues, or tasks. Periodic travel approximately 2 to 6 times a year in addition to committee and subcommittee meetings. Although with COVID right now, we're doing this for virtual meeting. Appoint and provide direction to subcommittees if able to action in their absence. The chair will evaluate the executive officer on an annual basis. However, all committee members can provide information to the chair on the executive officer's performance in advance to the evaluation. Once compiled, the committee chair meets with the executive officer to provide the committee's evaluation. The chair leads committee meetings, attend meetings via teleconference or in person for the Department of Consumer Affairs meetings about 2 to 4 times a year. Moderator, will you please advance to the next slide? Thank you. Here's a list of the current committee members and the positions currently held by Dr. Dara Thompson as the chair and Dr. Greta D'Amico as the vice chair. Both of these members can be nominated again if they choose to accept the nomination, can sit in their respective positions again. If anyone would like to nominate any other members for the chair or vice chair positions, you may make those nominations. As a reminder, if an officer position becomes vacant during the year, the chair may appoint a member to fill the vacancy for the remainder of the term until the next annual election. If the officer of the chair becomes vacant, if the office of the chair becomes vacant, the vice chair shall assume the office of the chair. Elected officers shall then serve the remainder of the term. All right, are there any nominations for chair? Any nominations at all?
As a reminder, you could also nominate yourself.
This is Dr. D'Amico, and I'm happy to nominate Dara Thompson for chair for the coming year if she is willing to continue in her present role.
Thank you. Do I have a second for that?
This is Shirley Worrells. I second that nomination.
Thank you, Shirley. And Dr. Thompson, do you accept the nomination?
I do, thank you.
Great, thank you. I will go ahead and take do I need a roll call vote for this, Sabina?
Yes, so we're going to ask for any further board or committee discussion, and then we're going to open up for public comment on this one nomination, and then we can take a roll call vote.
Wonderful, thank you so much. Are there any other discussions?
This is Dr. D'Amico. I just wanted to mention that as you're looking at the list in front of you, that Vera Singleton should have ND after her name because she's also a naturopathic doctor.
You are correct, she is, and we will definitely make that edit.
No further discussion from the board members. We can open for public comment on this nomination of Dr. Thompson for chair.
Great, thank you.
This is the moderator, and I have opened the Q&A panel. If you would like to make a public comment, please click on the question mark within the square located in the lower right-hand corner of your screen and type, "I would like to make a public comment." All comments will be taken in the order they are received. I will pause momentarily to allow individuals time to access this feature. At this time, there are no requests for public comment. Would you like me to close this feature?
Yes, thank you.
Feature has been closed.
Great, thank you very much. I would like to go ahead and do a roll call vote now. This is for the move of electing Dr. Thompson as the committee chair. Dr. Thompson?
Aye.
Thank you. Dr. D'Amico?
Aye.
Thank you. Dr. Singleton?
Aye.
Thank you very much. Dr. Davidson?
Aye.
Thank you. Dr. Yoon?
Aye.
Thank you very much. And Ms. Worrells?
Aye.
Thank you very much. And we've got 6 ayes and the motion moves. All right, and we will go ahead and move along to the election of the vice chair. Are there any nominations?
I would like to nominate Greta D'Amico. This is Dr. Thompson.
I'll second that nomination.
Who was my second? Dr. Yoon?
Sorry, yes, this is Dr. Yoon.
Thank you very much. Are there any further discussions on the nominations?
This is Dr. Thompson, and I just want to say that Dr. D'Amico's attention to detail is really indispensable to the committee.
I absolutely agree.
And Dr. D'Amico, are you willing to accept this position again?
Yes, I am.
Great.
Wonderful. Great. All right. Well, let's go ahead and open it up to comment, please.
This is the moderator, and at the direction of the committee, I have opened for public comment. If you would like to make a public comment, please submit "I would like to comment," and your request will be addressed in the order received. At this time, we have no members of the public currently on the meeting. Would you like me to close this feature?
Yes, please.
Feature has been closed.
Great, thank you. And with that, we have a move for the election of Dr. Greta D'Amico as the committee's vice chair. I will go ahead and do a roll call vote. Dr. Thompson.
Aye.
Thank you. Dr. D'Amico.
Aye.
Thank you. Dr. Singleton.
Aye.
Thank you very much. Dr. Davidson.
Aye.
Thank you. Dr. Yoon.
Aye.
Thank you. Ms. Worrells.
Aye.
Thank you very much. And we've got 6 ayes and the motion moves. Moderator, would you please advance to the agenda 4?
At this time, we are going to move on to agenda item 4, which is review and possible approval of the meeting minutes from our December 1st, 2020 meeting. Does anyone have any questions about that? I assume you've all had a chance to review them.
Yes, I have a couple comments, just a couple of typo errors. This is Dr. Mina Yoon.
Excellent. Can you let us know what you found?
Sure. Hang on. I think agenda item 6, Governor Newsom, there was an E added to the end of his name. Also, Senator Jim Bell, I think it's B-E-A-L-L in his name. Also on page 5, agenda item 7, under enforcement, it says NCMs instead of NMCs. And one more on page 7, under item 10. It says CNDA will be ramping up their efforts with scope modernization to allow NDs to practice as trained without independently. So to take out that without. And that's it.
Great. I've made those changes. Thank you, Dr. Yoon. I see Dr. D'Amico has her hand raised as well.
Yes, this is Dr. D'Amico. I have a couple of other things. Thank you. Just a question on agenda item 4, the second paragraph. After the review, the committee agreed with option number 1 and directed staff. So in the minutes, the options aren't mentioned. Is option number 1 always the same thing throughout DCA business, so everyone will know what that means?
No, but going back to the May 28th meeting and going through the materials, they would be able to know what option number 1 was.
Okay. And then in the last paragraph of that same agenda item, on the last sentence, Modified test was not discussed at this meeting, will be placed on the next meeting. I think we should add agenda for committee approval.
Okay. I've made those changes. Anything else?
Just double checking at the very bottom of page 5. The sunset review extending operations for 1 year until January 2023. Were we scheduled for review for 2020, 2021?
We were scheduled for review in 2021, which means that our act would have been up in 2022. So this actually extends us for 1 year.
So it should be 2023 there.
It is, yes.
Okay, because that's the end of the period that we're applying for, or what?
Correct.
Right, okay. And then I'm not sure if this is necessary, but on agenda item 11, number B, first sentence, the committee has had several subcommittee meetings to determine if independent prescribing rights. I kind of want to say are still appropriate for NDs instead of is.
Okay.
And that's all I have. Thank you.
Great, thank you. I've made all of those changes. Are there any other issues that anybody has caught? Okay.
Do we need to open this one for public comment as well?
That's correct. After we can go ahead and take a motion with, if you choose to approve the minutes with the edits discussed, we can take a second. And then if we don't have any further board discussion, we'll open it for public comment.
Thank you so much. I would like to motion that we approve the meeting minutes with the previous edits.
Great. Do I have a second to that motion?
This is Bruce. I'll second that.
Thank you very much, Dr. Davidson. All right, go ahead and go out for public comment, and then we'll take the roll call vote.
This is the moderator, and at the direction of the committee, I have opened the Q&A panel for public comment. Process is being displayed on the screen for your reference. Please type, I would like to make a public comment, and it will be addressed in the order it is received. I will pause momentarily to allow individuals time to access this feature. There have been no requests for public comment. Would you like me to close this feature?
Yes, thank you.
Feature has been closed.
Great, thank you. I will go ahead and take a roll call for the approval of minutes from the December 1st, 2020 meeting with amendments. Dr. Dara Thompson?
Aye.
Thank you. Dr. D'Amico?
Aye.
Thank you. Dr. Singleton?
Aye.
Thank you very much. Dr. Davidson?
Aye.
Thank you very much. Now, Dr. Yoon?
Aye.
Great. And Ms. Worrells?
Aye.
Great. Thank you very much. We've got 6 ayes and the motion passes.
Thank you so much. Can we advance to agenda item 5? So this is agenda item 5, a discussion and possible action on modified text for AB 213, substantial relationship and rehabilitation criteria. Rebecca, I'd love if you could take this item because you've done so much work on this. I think you have the best understanding of it.
Great, thank you very much. Providing today's update on the regulatory package of AB 2138 for substantial relationship and rehabilitation criteria is Ms. Karen Halbo. Ms. Halbo is the committee's regulatory counsel from the Department of Consumer Affairs. And I will go ahead and turn this over to Ms. Halbo, and thank you very much.
Hello. This package is one of many packages being submitted for DCA boards and bureaus and committees to implement AB 2138. And during the course of the Office of Administrative Law reviewing the packages, they are trying to make them as similar as possible. You have a memo in your packet that explains there were some language changes, mostly non-substantive, one that was considered substantive, and that's why modified text was sent out in November. And the board needs to vote to accept and approve the modified text. And then Rebecca will continue the time-taking and very painstaking work of getting this package finally finished and through the OAL process. Does anyone have questions? I hope you've looked at the memo and the materials, although I know reading regulatory text with the underline and strikeout and double is a real slow going. If the board is comfortable with this action, I have at the end of the memo the recommendation that you agree to adopt the modified text that was sent out as 15-day public notice. And then just the sentence at the end of the memo to also direct staff to take the steps necessary to complete the rulemaking process and authorize the executive officer to make any non-substantive changes to the proposed regulation and adopt the proposed regulation as described in the modified text.
Thank you. Are there any questions from the committee members? And Rebecca, do you have any further information or discussion you want to offer on this?
No, so like Karen had suggested, this information was sent out to the committee members, so you guys should have been able to review this. My suggestion would be to go ahead and accept the modified text as submitted, and we can go ahead and try to put this thing to rest. Does any of the members have any questions or suggestions?
This is Dr. D'Amico, and I'd like to make a motion that we accept this text as revised and direct staff to continue its implementation.
Great, I really appreciate that, Dr. D'Amico. Are there any seconds for that motion?
This is Dr. Yoon. I second the motion.
Great, thank you so much.
Can I interrupt and add a little bit to that motion?
Sure.
Thank you. I just want to make sure that your motion also includes that you're authorizing the executive officer to make any non-substantive changes to the proposed regulation package and to adopt the proposed regulation as described.
Yes, that's exactly what I meant. Thank you so much, Sabina. This is
I knew that's what you meant.
Yes.
Great, thank you so much. And do I have a second to the motion?
Yes, this is Dr. Thompson.
Great, thank you very much. All right, and we will go ahead and take public comment now, please.
This is the moderator, and at the direction of the committee, I have opened the Q&A panel. If you would like to make a public comment, please type "I would like to make a comment," and your request will be addressed in the order it is received. I will pause momentarily to allow individuals time to access this feature. At this time, no requests for public comment have been made. Would you like me to close this feature?
Yes, please.
Feature has been closed.
Great, thank you so much. And with that, I will go ahead and take a roll call vote to adopt the AB 2138 modified text as submitted, and all the great stuff that our attorney had provided to allow me to go ahead and get this package moved forward. All right, Dr. Dara Thompson.
Aye.
Thank you. Dr. D'Amico.
Aye.
Thank you very much. Dr. Singleton.
Aye.
Great. Dr. Davidson.
Aye.
Thank you. Dr. Yoon.
Aye.
Thank you very much. And Ms. Worrells?
Aye.
Great, thank you very much. We've got 6 ayes and the motion has.
Wonderful. At this point, we are going to move on to agenda item number 6. And this is about all of the pending regulations. I'm going to again turn this over to Rebecca to discuss these. Some of them are going to take us, significantly more time. So if you could just give us an update on the status of all of these pending regulations, Rebecca.
Great, I will definitely do that. So as you guys are fully aware that AB 2138 package was in front of the committee today and will be refiled with the Office of Administrative Law after today's meeting and after the 15-day notice. For the notice to consumers has been filed with the OAL and will have a publication date of 2/26/21. At that time, a notice will be sent out tomorrow and will allow for a 45-day public comment period. The fees, the inactive status, and the retired status packages will all be completed and held to go through at around the same time, since the 2 license type packages are dependent on the fees package going through. All proposed text has been approved by the committee and have been shared with the regulations unit. These packages will start moving forward after the AB 2138 has been completed. Right now, the text has been submitted, but we now have to put all the package material together for those. And lastly, the IV therapy and advanced injection training requirement proposed text that has already been approved by the committee was sent over to the regulation unit on 6/30/2020. We are currently awaiting an update to start working on the package to move this forward. This will be the next package to go through along with the 3 packages above. As you know, AB 2138 has been a beast, and so it take up a lot of our time. So everything else was kind of held and pended at that point. But now that AB 2138 looks like it's going to be moving along, we will go ahead and start getting the other packages pushed through as well. Are there any questions?
I have a question on the timeline. It sounds like the fees, inactive status, and retired status are just in a bit of a holding pattern. But regarding the IV therapy training requirements, is that also simply waiting for 2138, or what's the next step in that?
Yes, and the reason it was being held is we had a lot of work to do on the AB 2138, and Karen, we're not her only program that she works with, so the time to get all of those packages through were extremely challenging, I'm sure, to say the least. The IV therapy training requirement text was given to Karen. I know that she looked over it. We will be getting the package for that put together. So it should be moving along pretty quickly now at this point. Karen, did you want to add anything?
Well, most of my programs have bigger staffs, and there's just so much you can do on regulations during this time, because the drafting of the package beyond the regulation is usually what program does. So I need to work on your stuff, and it has been not my first priority, but I am looking forward to getting that package, because that's a very complicated regulated package. You have a lot of very specific things in the IV training requirement. On the other packages, I'm hopeful that you'll have your staff to help and do some of that drafting, and that can move things forward.
Sure. With the fees, the inactive status and the retired status, I can go ahead and definitely get those packages put together pretty quickly. The fees and inactive and also retired status, there are already programs that have put those things in place. So there's already language out there, and I know Sabina has been really helpful in providing me with some sample text as well. So we'll go ahead and make sure that those 3 regulation packages get done pretty quickly and put through. And then Karen and I will both be working on the submission package for the IV therapy training requirements. Just like she said, it is a pretty intense and large package that we'll be going through on that one. Dr. D'Amico, I see your hand is raised. Do you have a question?
Yes, I just wanted to state if maybe we could summarize, Karen could summarize AB 2138. It looks like it's sort of an update and consistency type of thing across government regulatory bodies, but perhaps you can say it more what that is.
Well, I have in the memo, the changes were to be consistent across government regulatory bodies. There was one change that was considered substantive. And back in 2019, when the package was put together, a naturopath followed the Osteopathic Medicine Board structure for this. And there was a citation to unprofessional conduct that used the same citation that the Osteopathic Medicine Board did, and it was more appropriate to use the definition that's in Naturopathic Medicine's Practice Act.
So this was our portion of a much larger movement across all agencies, in a sense, right?
Yes, every agency has to implement and show that they are handling convicted persons' applications and discipline issues in a different way, following the law.
Thank you.
And just so you guys have a little bit more background on that, AB 2138 was supposed to be done by a certain time. So that's why all of the programs were rushing to get this done and implemented to make sure that we were following the law. So that is why this one kind of took precedence over everything else. All right, are there any other questions? Dr. Thompson.
Sorry, I forgot to unmute myself. Can you just remind me a little more information on the notice to consumers? I know that one's not up; it's just been filed, but I just want to get a little more detail on that one.
Yes, the notice to consumers, if everybody remembers right, this is the one where all of the licensees will have to have a signage in their office. There were a couple of different options that a licensee can do in order to present their patients and anybody that comes into their office on who to call and who regulates them and that type of thing. So that's the notice to consumers. It was filed. The publication date should be tomorrow. And as soon as I get that word from OAL, we will be putting out a notice for a 45-day comment period.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Were there any other questions?
This is Dr. Singleton. I just had a clarification question. So the notice is for all practicing naturopaths, whether they're in good standing or probation?
That is correct, yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. All right, well, if there are no other questions, we'll go ahead and open it to public comment. Thank you so much, Karen, for jumping in and assisting on that one.
This is the moderator, and at the direction of the committee, I have opened the Q&A panel. If you would like to make a public comment, please type "I would like to make a comment," and your request will be addressed in the order it is received. I will pause momentarily to allow individuals time to access this feature. At this time, no requests for public comment have been made. Would you like me to close this feature?
Yes, thank you.
Feature has been closed.
Great, thank you. Can you to agenda 7?
Exactly. So this is agenda item 7, an update on social media and consumer outreach. Again, Rebecca, I think you are the best person to address this item.
Great, thank you very much. If you remember, during the December 1st meeting, I informed the committee that staff had reached out to the Department of Consumer Affairs and requested consultation for a social media campaign. Ms. Sherry Gyro from the Office of Public Affairs created the plan that I briefly shared with you during the last meeting. Today, Sherry is going to provide an update of what she's created for the committee. So please welcome Sherry, as I know we're about the plan that she put together for us, and there was a lot of feedback. So thank you. And Sherry, if you're ready, we'll go ahead and turn it over to you.
Great. I hope everyone can hear me. Thank you so much, Rebecca. And I would like to thank the committee for trusting me in launching this social media campaign for you guys and the social media communications plan. Obviously, I think you guys have seen the entire plan, and we have started implementing your social media communications plan by opening up a Twitter account. And the purpose, from my understanding, was to gain followers and open up a platform that would bring more awareness to what your committee does as far as protecting consumers, and particularly the difference between a naturopath and a naturopathic doctor. And I think from my understanding of my discussions with Rebecca is that there are issues with that and that people don't know the difference. And we're hoping that maybe social media will kind of open up some eyes and get people to understand more about what naturopathic medicine is all about. And so, again, I have started with a Twitter, and I'm going to attempt to share my screen here. If I can find it, I think it's this right here. So I'm hoping that you are seeing right now, this is your Twitter account. And we have 2 tweets that we put out. And I guess any progress is good progress. And I'm working on opening up a LinkedIn account right now, and Facebook, and then the Instagram. And the thing about social media is that it changes on an hourly basis. And Facebook in particular is changing a lot of rules and regulations about how to start an account. And it literally is constantly changing, and it's really hard to keep up with, and it's very difficult to do. And so I've been kind of working on that right now. But as you can see, this is your Twitter account. I produced the artwork that you see here with the tincture and the doctor with the patient. I've added your logo. The main page with the photograph is something that you probably want to change every quarter, just to keep it interesting. Now, I know you guys are very short-staffed, as are we. We're down to 2 information officers in our office, so and we're splitting all the boards and bureaus between the 2 of us. So it's kind of difficult, but I think between Rebecca and me, we can start doing some posts, and I'm hoping that we can bring your message to the forefront. And the best way to do that is to start getting people to follow us. And the best way to get people to follow us is to start following others. And so, and that's one of the things that I need to do with your LinkedIn, is that I cannot open the, I started a LinkedIn account using a Rebecca Mitchell account, because you have to be a real person to start an account, and they won't let me start the naturopathic business page yet until Rebecca starts connecting with other people. So if any of you are on LinkedIn and you'd be willing to connect with Rebecca, I can share her link with you. And if you connect with her, that would be great. That way we can start doing the LinkedIn. I'm trying to think of some other things I want to talk about. Oh, one thing that I would like to discuss with you folks is setting a social media policy. We kind of have a social media policy that is in the works at DCA, but other boards and bureaus have their own social media policy. I think Architects Board has one, and one of the things that a lot of boards and bureaus do is that they take their social media policy or parts of it and they post it on their about section on each of their social media accounts. And that way there is transparency about what our policy is with social media, so that if someone gets censured for profanity, they can't come back to us and say, hey, you censored me, and that's not fair. You're a state entity. You can't, you have to be open. Well, we can set policy on certain things. And I think that's something that your committee needs to discuss and go over, maybe perhaps with legal, to come up with something. And of course, I can assist on helping you write that policy and post it on your social media, so that, if there is an issue where you do have to remove a comment because of profanity or violation of your policy, it is done in a legal manner. So with that, if you guys have any questions on the social media plan that I have put out for you, please feel free, and I will open it up to the panel there.
Great, thanks so much, Sherry. Dr. Thompson, I noticed your hand is raised.
Yes. First, Sherry, I just want to thank you so much for your work. I know this was a lot to put together for you. As we all know, with social media, it's really consistency of content coming out regularly that builds a following and educates the public. And this, of course, being a major area that we want to focus on as far as education. I think my concern is that if it's left entirely to you, Sherry, and to staff, especially Rebecca, that's just a lot for you both. Yes. Because you're so busy. And so I'm wondering what we as committee members might be able to do to assist with content here, and take some of that off of your plates. Is that something that there is an avenue for?
I would think so. And I absolutely, first of all, thank you for the compliment. And I do appreciate any support that you would need. Because yes, it is daunting between Rebecca and me trying to, run all this stuff and everything that's on our plate. And that is something to consider. I don't know how well you do with interns or things like that, but a lot of our boards and bureaus have come up with their own social media person. I don't know if you have the luxury of doing that, but like BBS, they have a wonderful social media coordinator that they hired about a year ago and is doing a phenomenal job. And I could connect you with her to maybe get ideas on things that can be done. But for the most part, I do agree with you in that consistency is really important if you want to get attention and if you want to get the education out there. You really have to be out there on social media constantly posting at least once a week, at the very least, posting something. And, you know, one of the things that I like to do as an information officer in the public affairs office is producing my own content about your message or your education that you can share on your social media. And then, like, if there are any associations with naturopathic medicine, you can ask them to share your content. You know, we'll share your content. Will you share our content? You do have to be very careful about what you share, though, because you don't want to appear to be supporting a licensee or advocating for a licensee or advertising for a licensee. But at the same time, if there's something general, you can share it. And kind of circling back to what I was saying, what I can do to support, I can write blog articles. I can write Consumer Connection magazine articles. I don't know if you folks have heard about the DCA Peel, but that is a video news blog that I am the lead on. And what I do is I basically produce these video news pieces on you know, things that our licensees are doing and boards and bureaus and things that are related to our boards and bureaus. And let me see if I can, I'm having trouble getting back to the main screen to see if I can reshare. I'd like to try to switch over to, let me see if I can do it here.
This is the moderator. If you go to the top of your screen, you should see an icon that says stop sharing.
Okay. Are you seeing what I have here where it says the DCA page?
We do now, yes.
Okay, great. So this is the peel. This is the DCA peel. And basically, these are video clips that we have done that are related to our boards and bureaus. So this one was on fashion contact eye lenses and how dangerous they can be. And that is related to our Board of Optometry. And then here's something that, you know, I did on our DCA employees. Even though we all got sent home, we're still here working for you and protecting the consumer. Here's a video on how you can support your barber or beautician while they were closed. Here's a video about an architect who is designing an outer space hotel. You know, stuff about the perm, you know, all kinds of video clips. And so, you know, perhaps I could do a video clip on, hey, what's the difference between a naturopath and a naturopathic doctor? And once these videos go out on your social media, they start spreading around. And that's just a good avenue for education, I think. And it brings you up to date and up to speed with what's happening in today's world with how to communicate with others. So with that, I'd like to turn it back over if you have any more questions.
I see Dr. D'Amico has had her hand raised. Go ahead.
Hi, thank you. It's very exciting to get this going. First of all, I'd like to say that in terms of the very constrained resources by both your group and our committee, that our demographic, if you will, in other words, the people who tend to use naturopathic medicine the most and investigate it on the internet tend to be usually women in the probably 40s, kind of 40s, 50s, 35 to 50 kind of range. That's not exclusive, of course, but I would suggest that LinkedIn would be our last social media avenue to explore, because that is not going to be where people are looking for information. Our demographic is going to be Facebook first, Instagram second, I would think. So that's one comment is, even though it's difficult, I would think Facebook would be the #1 priority among all of the possible outlets. And then just a second thing is I would love to see if you would be willing to give us some draft language for our internet policy that we can kind of put at the top of all these accounts, so we can kind of look at it and make any changes we want to. Would be very helpful.
All right. Absolutely, I can do that.
Thank you.
Great. All right, and I also see that Dr. Thompson has her hand raised.
Thank you. Just a follow-up comment on generating content. Is that something we could form a committee for, Rebecca, or is that not appropriate?
You know, I will let Sabina chime in on this, but I think if you guys are doing the content and then I'm the one that's going and put it on there, as long as it doesn't violate any of the policies, I think that would be fine.
Just seems that if we had a group of people who could generate some basic content and it was just being edited and placed, it might facilitate more frequent posting.
Yeah, and I really would much rather have licensees who know about what's going on in your guys' profession, you know, give that information to me instead of me trying to go and find it. It does help, definitely. I'll let Sabina weigh in on that, though.
This is Sabina, yes. You know, at any time, not even at a meeting, the chair can always appoint a subcommittee of 2 members or less. That way you don't have to have public meetings, but if you would like to, you can always have a social media subcommittee who can, you know, work on material together and provide that to DCA for posting, or Rebecca, or for whomever for editing.
Is that something we could do at this meeting, or do we need to do it at a separate time because of it not being on the agenda?
Actually, subcommittees can be appointed at any time. You can go home and think about it, and you know, if you would rather, the more prudent matter probably would be to put it on an agenda so that you can also figure out maybe what that subcommittee's duties and roles is actually going to be, instead of, you know, just saying it's do whatever you want or whatever. You may want to put some parameters on it, some direction, and some expectations on those members. So we can definitely add that to the next meeting agenda, and we can talk about it then we can come up with some ideas ahead of time.
I think that sounds like a great idea. Let's add it to the next meeting agenda. And in the meantime, if there are members who are interested in contributing to social media or think that that would be something that they could contribute to, if you could reach out to myself or Rebecca or Greta, just let us know. We can have that information going into the next meeting so we can solidify things.
That sounds great. And I have put that on a future agenda item. Were there any other questions for Sherry?
I do want to jump in before the other question, and there's something I forgot to mention, and that is it would be a good idea for your group to either e-blast or mail out your licensees and ask them to start following you on your social media, because that will definitely generate more public awareness that you guys are out there. And also, if you need to communicate something to them, that is a great way to get the word out. If, you know, let's say, I'm just making this up, but let's say that you guys have a fee waiver, or, you know, the governor signed something that has something to do with the licensees. That's how you can, it's a great way to communicate with them in addition to the way that you're already doing it. So I'm finished now.
Thank you. I absolutely agree with that. And that was one of the reasons that we wanted a LinkedIn, is so that we could, like right now when we have vacancies for committee members, we could put that out there on LinkedIn, and it does help bring in a pool of possible candidates. So thank you, Sherry, for that. I see that Vera, Dr. Singleton, had her hand raised. Do you have a question?
I do, yes. So my question is around if we are to form a subcommittee, do we have any limitations of bringing in an intern to do some of this copywriting for us, or does it have to be from our brains specifically?
That is a great question, Dr. Singleton. Unfortunately, we don't have a budget, and I'll explain why when we get down further along in the meeting, but we just don't have the budget to bring on somebody that their sole purpose is to do the social media stuff for us. So unfortunately, it's going to have to be things that we come up with. We can definitely send it to our legal counsel just to make sure that there's nothing that we're violating. But yeah, I think this is something that we're definitely going to have to do internally.
And if it were a free intern, are there steps that this person would have to take in order to draft content for us?
That's a good question. I would have to check with our HR to find out kind of what the policies are about interns and volunteers and that type of thing.
Okay. And then I guess my second comment would be, so there are a lot of vehicles that could make posting to social media very easy. Even, I won't go into super detail, but, even using Hootsuite as an example, if we're blasting similar content to all of our social media channels, we could have a Hootsuite account, and it would post to, whatever channels that we decide, whether it's LinkedIn or IG or Facebook simultaneously, and we could schedule pretty much the entire year out, at blocks of time. So I guess my ultimate question is, who would be the administrator of that account? Would that be you, Rebecca, specifically? Or
yes,
would the subcommittee be responsible for that?
That's a great question. And I know that Sherry had mentioned that we would be getting a Hootsuite to, and I think it's free for up to 3 accounts.
Yes,
for us. So yeah, that is definitely something that we've already kind of prepared for. And I know that Sherry, as soon as she can, putting that into effect once all of the social media accounts are created. And I think that we need to discuss line on, if the subcommittee is going to be putting the information on, or is that something that they're going to share content with me and then I can put it on. And that's not a problem. Taking a couple minutes out of the to post something to the Hootsuite and having those all of our social media is nothing that's going to break me. So if I need to do that, that is absolutely okay. I just do need some support from the committee in getting that content that is approved by the committee and out to our followers.
And same here. I would be willing to help be one of the administrators. And I do that for my other boards and bureaus. They'll reach out to me every once in a while and say, help, can you post this? We can't do it today. And absolutely, I just jump right in. That is my job, so I can do that. And I can also recommend a program that we use at DCA called Archive Social. And that will help you guys monitor what's going on without constantly let's say you have a barrage of things and you just don't have time. This Archive Social can flag some of your policy violations for you and send you an email notification when things like that happen. So that is a good assistant that can absolutely help.
Great, thanks, Sherry. Dr. Singleton, did you have anything else?
No, just otherwise, I'd love to be on or chair the social media committee.
Oh, I love to hear that.
Yeah,
I'm here.
but that's it for me. Thank you.
All right, great, thank you. And Dr. D'Amico has her hand raised. Do you have any questions?
Some questions and comments. I was going to nominate Vera to be, Dr. Singleton to be on this committee, so I'm so glad that she volunteered. That's excellent. And then regarding the Archive Social, is it okay if we go ahead and direct Sherry to set that up when she can? It's not first priority, but we can have that in place even before we approve our guidelines, right?
Sure, and I think having those guidelines discussed so that she knows what those policies are. I'm not sure how Archive Social or any of those work. I am so not techie, but I know IG and Facebook and LinkedIn well enough to post. So, and again, Sherry is going to be gracious enough to do some training so that I am more familiar with all of the different apps that we're going to be using. And so, yeah, I think that maybe if we can discuss this further and maybe get some clarification from Sherry on what those DCA policies are for social media, have something to kind of start with, and then.
Okay. And I think Dr. Singleton's very familiar with this stuff, and a lot of it, like Hootsuite, takes literally a minute to set up. It's very short. It's not complicated. So I think we'll find that to be very helpful. But I wanted to ask if we could go ahead and share, Rebecca, the news of our Twitter account onto the CNDA so they can put that in their newsletter and ask all naturopathic doctors to please follow it. And then they can retweet any information put out on our behalf from the committee. They can retweet in their own accounts. And that will be something we can do to start getting things going.
Absolutely, we can definitely
and as
do
we
that.
get each account up, we can do the same thing, put it out through the CNDA newsletter because they have a broad reach kind of instantly, and they send it out more than once, I believe.
Yeah, that sounds like a really great idea. I'll go ahead and definitely get that out because, I let CNDA already know that we were going to be on social media sites, and so they were excited about that because I know they have some social media sites that are very well established. That would be a great idea.
Thank you.
All right, Dr. Thompson?
So it sounds like this is really a significant area of growth for us and a lot of potential here. I'm feeling excited about it. And so just to summarize, we're looking at some different platforms and things that could make things faster and easier. We are looking at putting together a subcommittee and defining exactly what that subcommittee does at our next meeting. And Rebecca, you're going to look and see what the policies are around unpaid internships with the BCA, because this is, I think, the perfect platform to get some high school students who are trying to get something that looks good on their transcript to help us out, if that is something that is actually workable with the BCA. So are there any other items that summarize this up that anyone wants to add?
This is Dr. D'Amico, and that Sherry's going to go ahead and focus first on Facebook. And there was one other thing. It has escaped me.
Well, thankfully, this is going to be an active work in progress, and we're going to revisit it at our next meeting. So I'm sure that a lot of things are going to come up for people.
I remember what it is, actually. So I believe, this is like speaking in the voice of the Naturopathic Medicine Committee, and that Rebecca and the chair and the vice chair have the ability to do that to the public without approval of the committee first, correct? Just in general.
That is correct, yes.
So at this moment, anything could be posted that is run by any of the three of us. If we approved it or posted on behalf of the committee, I think that would be true to the rules as they stand, until we are able to do the rest of this work where we have a subcommittee that has that permission and guidelines, that can be done anytime in this way.
That's correct.
That's correct. And so currently, like Sherry was showing you on our Twitter account, we've got two messages on there right now. And those actually came from the Department of DCA. And those were just things that were coming down from either the legislators or something like that. So it was just kind of for everybody's information. So there are going to be times when we have items like that we're going to put out, and it's not going to be so much just limited to the committee, but kind of all licensees as a whole. So yeah, we can definitely make sure that we do have some content being put out there prior to the subcommittee being created and established and moving forward. So yeah, we can definitely do that and make sure that we're keeping items flowing. So I will definitely be looking to you and Dr. Thompson to help provide some of that content. And I'm excited about Dr. Singleton wanting to chair that subcommittee.
Yeah,
And yeah, I'm wondering if I could, if I could chime in on that thought there, Rebecca, about exec and DCA, they will be sending a enormous amount of social media that they're going to want you to post that is not related to your board, or I'm sorry, your committee. And it gets overwhelming. And some of my boards and bureaus have complained about it, that it's too much. And I think the best way to deal with that is to, again, post your own content at least once a week so that people don't get bombarded with this DCA stuff and then they start ignoring your social media account because they're like, yes, I know I need to wash my hands and wear a mask and blah, 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 blah. And you've said it 3 times today and I don't need to keep seeing that. And then they're going to start ignoring it. And so I think the key is to keep them engaged with your content. I'm not trying to throw DCA under the bus here because they do want us to do this for a reason, right? They're trying to protect our consumers and protect society here. But at the same time, we have to be careful about, and I think that you as a committee I think you do have the ability to choose how much you post and how much you don't. But they are asking us to do some of that stuff.
Right. Yeah, totally understandable. And I absolutely agree with you on that. And for a committee and a program that has never had social media before, I think that everybody is just going to be excited that we're even out there. So I think that they will be glad to see anything that we're putting up. And I know that our licensees really appreciate even the information and the messaging that comes from DCA. So we'll definitely make sure that the really serious information that DCA provides to us, and they always have some really great pictures and stuff that we can use. So we'll definitely use those when we need to, and definitely make sure that we continue to place content up there from us so that, like you said, that they don't get overburdened with just DCA messaging. So yeah, thank you very much for that.
This is Dr. D'Amico. Rebecca, do you currently know how to post to Twitter?
I do, and I know how to retweet.
Okay. And do you know how to post as the Naturopathic Medicine Committee?
No, but I'm going to learn because Sherry's going to show me.
Okay, and I'm wondering if Sherry might want to give Dara and me also the credentials so that we can post as the committee at this time?
Yes, and one of the things that I would like to do that is in your communications plan is to whoever is going to be posting have a training session. And I think that we should, once I get all of your social media accounts set and ready to go, I think that that's when we should have a meeting together where we do some training.
Okay, so I'm just wondering, I'm thinking through how we're going to make, we only have meetings a few times a year. So rather than wait another 6 months or, whatever, before we can start moving with this, I'm wondering if we would be willing to appoint our subcommittee with at least one member of Dr. Singleton today. And if she is moved to create some content, she can send it to Rebecca, who can then post it as appropriate. She'll be kind of the screener until we get the rest of this going with the other accounts and the training.
I think that would be appropriate if Dr. Thompson wants to check to see if there's any other members. We would need one more to make an ad hoc subcommittee that can work on their own without having to adhere to the Public Meetings Act.
Do we have any other members who are interested in being on the social media subcommittee?
It'll be fun.
This is Dr. D'Amico, and I was wondering, Bruce, about you. Because of your broad perspective from a public health point of view, it might bring an interesting perspective and voice to the messaging that's not just naturopathic centric, if you will.
Hi, this is Bruce. I appreciate that perspective. Thank you. I guess, my only concern is that I studiously avoid Facebook and Twitter. The only one of the three that we've been discussing that I have any familiarity with is LinkedIn. So I don't know if that makes a difference.
This is Dr. D'Amico. I think that if you're willing to contribute to messaging, you don't need to worry about where it goes out because others would be posting it. Because part of the job of the committee, as I understand it, would be to generate content and to plan for the disbursement of that content. And Dr. Singleton's very familiar with that.
Okay, well, yeah, I mean, with the understanding that I guess my focus would be on content rather than disbursement, sure, I'd be happy to participate that way.
And this is Dr. Thompson, and that's my understanding as well with the subcommittee, although we're lucky to have Dr. Singleton, who seems to have significant experience with the social media platforms, that the main goal of the subcommittee would be to generate content, which then could be posted by Rebecca or Sherry or Dr. D'Amico, I would say, or myself, but I am also extremely not social media savvy, so I'm not sure how helpful I'm going to be with actually getting things on the sites. I can certainly look at the content and approve it, however.
Yeah, and this is Dr. D'Amico, and I believe, and our legal person can confirm, that if we can form a subcommittee at any time, you can also come off of a subcommittee. So if you really hate it or it doesn't work out for you, you could probably let Dara know or Rebecca, and then we could look at appointing someone else. So don't feel like you're locked in permanently.
This is Sabina, absolutely. And, if Dr. Singleton is the only volunteer today, that's okay. Also, she can get started while everybody else thinks about it, and as time goes by after the meetings, you're all welcome to always contact your chair and to express any interest or disinterest if maybe Dr. Singleton decided not to afterwards. But that's always up to you.
Do we need to make a motion to appoint the subcommittee, or can we just do that?
No, that would be that's the chair's discretion.
Yes. So at this point, I would like to appoint our social media subcommittee with Dr. Vera Singleton and Bruce Davidson as members. Of course, please feel free to reach out to me if there are any issues, we need to change anything. This, is something that is dynamic and we can adjust. And I believe, Rebecca, if the subcommittee needs to meet, is that something that needs to be posted, or can they do that at their discretion?
No, because it's only 2 members, they can do that at their discretion, and they will be able to communicate with each other without violating any of the Open Meetings Act.
And maybe
Excellent, thank you.
This is Dr. D'Amico. Can we direct them at this time to go ahead and work with Sherry to bring language to us at the next meeting for our policies that we would put in our accounts?
Sure, and I think that I can work with Sherry offline and get that information and send it out to all of the members so that you guys have that. And then we can definitely discuss it at the next meeting. But I think having that DCA's policy kind of as a guideline on what we need to do, and then maybe if you guys feel that there needs to be more policies in place, you can do that at that time.
Thank you.
And just a quick clarification in terms of generating the content and sending it for approval, who would we need to CC? Would it be Rebecca, Dara, Greta, Sherry? Like, who do I need to?
This is Sabina.
Send it. Oh, go ahead.
Sorry.
No, go ahead.
Dr. Singleton, are you talking about any kind of daily content that you might be posting?
Correct, yeah.
Okay. I think that is something that can be, the logistics can be figured out offline with your executive officer and even DCA, depending on how much they're going to be involved. And all of that will be determined somehow, because we might have some other kind of arrangements with, I don't know who's going to be running which part or which side or Twitter or who or what. But that I don't think you need to decide right now.
Okay.
I think a good policy.
This is Sherry. I'm sorry. This is Sherry Gyro. I just want to make sure that your committee is very clear on maybe there is one person who approves before the post goes up, so that things don't just start going up without any approval.
I agree. This is Dr. Singleton. I agree, and forgive me, I have a tendency to, I have a marketing background, so my copy is going to be very different, I think, than what NMC would be comfortable with. So I definitely want to make sure that it's in language that speaks for the committee as a whole. So that's why I'd like to figure out who would vet this before it goes out.
Sure.
So that I can get in the vein of the type of language that would represent NMC appropriately.
Great. Dr. Singleton, I think for now, go ahead and anything that you have, go ahead and send to me. That way we're not violating any acts by talking to too many different board members without having an Open Meetings Act. So go ahead and send them to me first, and then I will be working with Sherry, and then everything that we deem appropriate, we'll go ahead and make sure it gets posted. So I think for now, it would probably be the best route until everybody gets the training, and then we meet as a whole again.
Perfect. Thank you.
Are there any other questions before we move along to the next agenda item? Okay, I don't see any.
I believe we have to ask for public comment.
You are correct. We do need to go to public comment now. Thank you.
This is the moderator, and at the direction of the committee, I have opened the Q&A panel. If you would like to request to make public comment, please click on the question mark within the square in the lower right-hand portion of your screen and type, "I would like to make a public comment." All comments will be addressed in the order they are received. I will now pause a moment to allow individuals time to access this feature. At this time, we have not received any requests for public comment. Would you like me to close this feature?
Yes, please.
Feature has been closed.
So if we could advance to the next agenda item, please.
Dr. Thompson? This is Dr. D'Amico.
Yes.
Might I suggest for the undivided attention of our committee members that we take a short biological break?
Sorry, you read my mind because the next two agenda items, both the CNBA update and NPLEX, look like they are going to be longer items. So let's break for 10 minutes, reconvening at 10:32 to address agenda item 8, please.
Great. Thank you.
Rebecca, Sabina, do we need to do another roll call to make sure everyone's back, or can we just resume?
That would be preferred, so we can make sure we have everybody in a quorum.
Thank you. Rebecca, do you want to do the roll call vote or roll call?
Sure. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Hello?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. I had a little downtime for a second, so I just wanted to.
Now I cannot hear you.
Uh-oh. Okay, hold on.
Oh, now you're back. Sorry.
I'm back. Yeah, I'm having some issues with my computer right now. So if you can't hear me, please just let me know. Dr. Thompson?
Present.
Thank you. Dr. D'Amico?
Present?
Dr. Singleton?
Present.
Thank you. Dr. Davidson?
Present.
Great, thank you. Dr. Yoon?
Present.
Wonderful. And Ms. Shirley Worrells?
Present.
Great, thank you. Thank you very much. And is Dr. Quinn online yet? Okay, I just wanted to make sure he hadn't joined us.
Yeah, no, this is the moderator. I have not
Okay,
seen his
perfect.
name here. Oh,
Great, thank you.
he is here. I apologize. He had his full name listed, so I missed it.
Okay, great. Thank you. Then I will go ahead and call upon Dr. Quinn. Are you present?
Dr. Quinn is present, but it doesn't appear he has any audio connections. If you don't mind momentarily, I can display the slide for him to hook up via telephone. Would that be okay?
Okay. Sure, that's fine.
Dr. Quinn, currently I am displaying for your reference the process in which to hook up your audio via telephone. If you go to the top of your screen and click on the audio and video, select switch audio, and you will be able to be given a call-in number. It does appear we have an audio connection. Dr. Quinn, if you could please unmute your microphone and do a microphone check for us. You will have to unmute it on your computer in order for your phone to mute and unmute.
I am present. Can you hear me?
We can. Thank you so much.
Thank you so
Thank
much,
you.
Dr. Quinn. Great to have you here.
Thank you.
Wonderful. So at this point, we are scheduled to have an update from the CNDA. Do we have a representative from the CNDA present?
Yes, you do.
We do.
Hi, Kathy.
Hi. Hi, everybody.
So providing today's, go ahead, Kathy.
Sorry about that. I've been anxious, I listened
it's
in on the
okay.
last part of the conversation, so I was like, chomping at the bit here, but it's so nice to be here and see everybody virtually, sort of. So thank you for giving me the opportunity to kind of give you an update on what's happening with the CNDA and some other things that we're working on. But if I can just sort of go back a minute to what you were talking about previously, about the social media, which is very exciting for us, because the more that we can get naturopathic medicine out there as practiced by licensed naturopathic doctors as opposed to naturopaths, the better. It's one of the things that we've been working on and trying to do the comparison, show that the public that there is a difference. And we also have some social media. We've been trying to up our game. And we do have a social media person who works primarily with our other association, which I'll touch in a little bit later. But Kate Hagen is our social media specialist. And we've had Facebook pages and Instagram pages and other things in the past. But for the CNDA, the focus has really been on Facebook. We have a page, but we also have a doctors group. And those of you who are on NDs on this board probably have used it, where doctors are able to share information, share resources, ask questions. Often if something comes up we don't know, we'll reach out to Rebecca and she'll kind of share with us. So that has been a really important thing. What we found, though, in particular when it comes to the other social media, we've decided not to go with Twitter. It tends to attract trolls and or again, people from the naturopath side. And so we've decided to keep our stuff focused on Facebook for our doctors, and then gone a little bit further out on our public-facing organization, where we do have Instagram. And the biggest issue we have, to the point that was made earlier, is that content is king. Content is key. And as staff, we have a hard time generating content. It's not ours. So we're trying to get our doctors to get more involved and share that. And that's where the limitation really is. If you have content, posting is not the problem. It's just getting the information that we need out there. That said, we would love to be able to share whatever it is that the NMC wants to give us. We already share updates that Rebecca sends us. They go on to our emails. I think Greta and Dara mentioned that earlier. We do send that information out. And just recently we had a wonderful little, we call it a victory, in that NDs are finally listed on the drop-down menu of the California Department of Public Health's website for volunteering. A lot of our doctors have wanted to volunteer and haven't been able to, according to whatever they find online. They want to be able to administer vaccines. We're working with Rebecca on a waiver that apparently it's in the governor's office now, where if that is in place, then there'll be a waiver for NDs to at least be able to administer during the pandemic the COVID vaccine. We also have a new MDDO supervisory agreement specific to the pandemic, so that if somebody goes to volunteer at a site and somebody questions it, if there is an MD or DO on staff who would be willing to sign off on it, then that, again, our doctors could serve in a clinician capacity. And there's a shortage, and this is exactly what we want to be able to do, is to help out in this type of an event. So that said, let's see what else we have. Our biggest issue is getting information out to our members. We want to keep them informed, and we do have Facebook. We do have regular webinars where we talk about updates and business basics, and we've had webinars now on social media and marketing, because we were trying to focus over this last year on what it is that our doctors need to do in order to be successful in their practices. We've taken a hit on membership. I know that licensees have also dropped. I think a lot of it is around COVID. A lot of it has to do with our scope and the ability for our doctors to practice to the best that they've been trained. So all of these are issues that we're focused on. Earlier in the year, last year, we did a couple of town halls, and Rebecca was on a couple of them talking about different policies around how we can practice during COVID, whether it had to do with telehealth or just whatever it was that was out there at the time. And those have been really, really well received. We had over 100 people on the town halls. And I know that because our Zoom only allowed us to have 100. So if there was anything more than that, we didn't get it. But all of those are recorded and are on our website. So if anybody wants to see them, they can. Additionally, we are so grateful to have Dr. Stephanie Berg, who is an ND and a lawyer, a JD, and she volunteers with us and serves as a consultant for the CNDA on contract issues and things like that. But she also does a bi-monthly Facebook Live talking about legal issues that our doctors might have, everything from setting up a practice to those types of supervisory agreements to insurance to whatever. And her links are all on our Facebook doctors group, which is a members only group. So we have the Facebook page, and then we have the Facebook group, where it is strictly for our members to be able to interact and get this wonderful kind of information. What we're doing lately is also promoting those outside of our membership, so that people who have either lapsed memberships or haven't joined, and then on our greater email list, we have like 3,000 something on this greater email list. If they see those tidbits, they will be hopefully primed to rejoin or join the actual association. And why that is important is, as we go into our sunset review in 2022, and we are now looking at scope modernization, the bigger the voice we have, the better chance that we have of achieving what we want to achieve. Organizations, associations exist so that members can come together and create that larger voice. With that, we need to make sure that we get out to our legislators and introduce ourselves. We've been sort of invisible for the last few years, and people don't know who we are. So we need to let our legislators know that we are here, that we're active. And one of the things that we plan on doing in the next week or two is a voter voice, basically, where a member or anybody can go online and find their legislator and send them a letter. And the purpose of this particular one is going to be just to thank our legislators for being there and their service during COVID, because we know there are stresses. And one of the things that we're going to do is include some stress tips that NDs offer as wonderful solutions to de-stress. So basically, it's not an ask, it's a here you go, here we are, we're not invisible, and we want to let you know that we're constituents and want to introduce ourselves. So part of everything that's happened in the last year now, I can't believe it, it's been a year, we have strengthened and created new partnerships. You know, we're meeting regularly with Bath Steer University, or regular meeting with AIHM and all these different organizations, so that we can collaborate and have champions on our side when we go to pursue this legislation. I would love to create a relationship with the CMA, and maybe, you know, if people on this board can help us do that, it would be a wonderful opportunity to just sort of talk about what we have in common, as opposed to everything that's not in common. That said, we also now have revived what used to be called Realize Health, and that's the public-facing organization. So the CNDA is a 501c6. It's under IRS code. We are an association or a trade organization, and the whole benefit of the organization is for the naturopathic doctors that belong to it. Okay, it really isn't considered a public-facing organization, whereas the Foundation for Natural Health is our 501c3 nonprofit, and that is educational, sometimes known as charitable, and the whole focus of that is about educating the public about naturopathic medicine and letting them know how we differ from others in the community. We have a new website. It's being tweaked. Actually, the CNDA website is now new also, and anybody who's done website design knows that it's a nightmare for a while. So we have the Realize Healthy California website, a Realize Healthy California Instagram page. I encourage everybody to sign on and retweet things that you find. I think that those are really valuable tools. The Realize Healthy California site is very, very valuable for patients of an ND, so that they can be informed about what's out there. So in October, the Foundation for Natural Health, and we're calling it Realize a Healthy California, had a health fair with all kinds of wonderful panelists. It was a week long. Every day we had a different presentation, and then it lives also on the Realize a Healthy California website for people to go back. There were prizes, there were all kinds of fun things, and we hope to maybe make it an annual event. So one of the things that we are faced with now is also fundraising, because you can't do everything without money. And one of the reasons I think that Realize Health sat dormant for so long was because there was nobody there to champion it, nobody there to push it, and there wasn't the money to do it. Whereas, the CNDA was doing all the work for them, and I kind of serve as the executive director for both branches or both organizations. So we're seeking grant money, we're seeking grants. We're trying to develop a new corporate partner program that's a public-facing program with products and or services that are not doctor-centric, but more public-centric, so we don't compete with the CNDA's program. But all of these things have to be built on a foundation of something that has already been shown to be successful. So that's, it's like, what comes first, the chicken or the egg, So we're trying to work those details out. And that's why the social media is so important. But we also are now pursuing a different project. I'm going to talk about that right now. It's called the Realize Healthy California on the Move. And this was sort of created as part of a brainstorming session within our two boards of the Realize Healthy California and the CNDA. But since then, we've brought on a couple of partners, and we've created a new board specifically for this organization, the nonprofit. 501c3. David Schleich, who, if many of you may know him, he was former president of NUNM. He sits on the board. He's got some amazing contacts. We're working with him to try to develop those contacts. And we are also in partnership with Bath Steer and with INM, the Institute for Natural Medicine, which is an offshoot, the sort of same kind of organization that's part of the AANP. So AANP is the association, INM is the charitable side, as the RHC is. So you can move forward on the slide. I'm just going to, this is a pitch deck that we put together to go after prospective donors. And what this is around a mobile clinic that we're trying to put together, and this is what this partnership is about. So we want to provide trusted naturopathic and integrative medical care, health solutions, and resources for California, creating an unstoppable movement of healthy people, families, and communities in a healthy environment. So, you know, if we can get this done in California, serve as a pilot program, who knows where this can go. Next slide, please. All right, so here we've tried to compile statistics to show where we are, you know, in terms of chronic illness, how naturopathic medicine can offer different alternatives, low cost, preventative, effective solutions, educating, engaging patients. So these are the statistics that we want to show that we know what we're talking about and what the homework is, and that we've done it. Next slide, please. I kind of discussed with you a little bit about this, what our mission is, that we are led by licensed naturopathic doctors, but really, because it's an organization that's about education, we want to talk about this alternative way of providing health, which we call naturopathic medicine. Next, please. So the RHC on the Move is this mobile clinic. It was going to be like an RV that has everything in it that could provide primary care. And it's really focused on vulnerable populations. We believe that with preventative help, a lot of those long-term chronic and acute issues that show up will be addressed. So it would include people on Medicaid, the uninsured, underinsured, undocumented. The goal here is really to help the community that needs it the most. And it's different than kind of the focus that you see in traditional naturopathic medicine, because we have limitations on insurance and ability to get to those underserved communities. So this is kind of like a whole different focus. We want to have a sort of a pilot program that would be focused in San Diego County. And it would be, as it says here, a 3-month fall tour across California to kind of network. So we would be focused in San Diego, but then move through the state to introduce this RHC on the Move to other communities. Next slide, please. Again, more statistics. You know, we have a shortage of primary care doctors. If you look at the pie of healthcare professionals or healthcare needs, the pie is huge. And no individual profession can handle all of that critical care. And CNDA, the naturopathic community, the naturopathic doctor community, just wants to work in order to help fill that gap. Next slide, please. Again, COVID-19, we see this everywhere. We have a problem. I just heard a story this morning about a number of physicians, nurses, and other healthcare professionals becoming ill and infected, which puts them out of the workforce. We certainly had a workforce challenge pre-pandemic, but it's exacerbated by COVID-19 disease. We hear these stories all the time. As I was talking about earlier, you know, our NDs are ready, willing, and able to go out there and help, and they are limited by scope. They're limited by, you know, outdated regulations. And what we're trying to do is show that we have a workforce that's ready, willing, and able to participate. And we're doing what we can to make that happen. Next slide, please. Next. Okay, again, here's the underserved communities all over. We've documented, we've got the data, and this just reinforces the need for more help. Next. All right, so improve the health, especially in lower socioeconomic areas, educating people through naturopathic medicine, providing the education, trying to lower the cost of primary care. We already know that naturopathic medicine is a model for that, and we want to develop the awareness of how naturopathic medicine improves the health of Californians. So this is not only a primary care mobile clinic, it's really about education. It's really about bringing that into those communities so more and more people know about it and getting out of those corners. You know, we want to be able to be exposed to the general public in a way that we haven't been before. Next slide. And again, here's all our counties that could be served, you know, medically underserved populations. One of our doctors is in a rural area in Central California, and he moved here from up north, I think it was Oregon, and he has been here now for, I don't know, about 1.5 years, and he is so frustrated because, of course, in Oregon, he was able to practice at a much higher level, and he was treated with a different kind of respect, whereas here in this community, there was one other MD in the whole community who retired, and it would have been wonderful for this ND to step into that position, but you know, he faced all kinds of obstacles, and it was a rural, you know, low-income area where it would have been wonderful for him to be able to just step into those shoes as much as he could. These are the kinds of things that we're trying to address. Next slide, please. Again, pretty simple. Rolling advocacy. How does that help us, you know, in terms of our reaching out to legislators later on? So what is it? You know, you were talking earlier about the NMC having social media. The RHC, this here, helps us get that information out so that we can build this whole community of champions so that as the CNDA goes to address the legislature with the scope modernization, you know, when we do sunset review, we have tons and tons of people to support why this is so important to the community. And then, of course, here we are, we're asking for the donations. Once again, we've got medical supplies, operating costs. We're going to be creating relationships with product and service sponsors who may, you know, put their logos on the van. I mean, as much as possible, we're going to try to get in-kind donations, but then at some point we also have to have cash. So we're looking at ways of getting grants and other types of donations, foundations. Next slide, please. And you can run through these really quickly. We're looking at fundraising events next. Time, obviously, volunteers are always helpful. You know, we have to have paid doctors on the vans, but there's opportunities for others. You know, students who want to get, you know, clinical hours, they could come in and help with outreach. Next. Advertising, of course, RV decals. This would be wonderful stuff to have in our ND's offices. We already have a really nice brochure that talks about the principles of naturopathic medicine. And in order to cover some of our costs, we've added sponsors to be on that. And then we offer them to our doctors to have in their doctors' offices so that their patients can learn and also share with other people. And this just kind of tells us, you know, it's a breakout of what all the expenses are going to be. And just to show that we've done our homework and have a really clear understanding of what's expected. You know, obviously there are steps. If this doesn't happen, then that can't happen. And so it's a ramp up approach to this project. Next slide. And that's it. So if you go back one more, oops, so you kind of see, back up one slide, please. Oh, I guess not. Okay, next. All right, so this is the timeline, and you know, we're hoping that we can get that done by then. We'll see. And next one. Thank you. So this here again shows us how we also have these online presences, and we welcome people to jump on to see our progress. And I think that's it. I'm open for questions. I know that was really fast. I apologize.
Great. Thank you, Kathy, so much. Does anybody have any questions? I see Dr. D'Amico's hand is raised. And I'm sorry, I'm having some connectivity issues, so I'm going to be jumping off in a few minutes after this agenda item to go to a more secure connection. So I just wanted to let you guys know in case I drop out. But Dr. D'Amico, did you have a question?
Yes. Kathy, this mobile clinic, is it going to be free healthcare to the patients?
So I don't know how far they've gotten on that. I believe that they're going to try to do as much as possible on a free basis in the underserved communities. And the way that would happen would be getting those in-kind services, donations by the pharmaceutical, the whatever nutraceutical companies or supplement companies that we have. So that's the idea. And ideally, it would be wonderful to be able to do that. Even if they had, if we had IV clinics set up, that would be the goal.
And just as a suggestion, it might even be worth the CNDA putting this out again, is that, we can enroll, naturopathic doctors can enroll as, I'm not really sure what the term is, but it's a Medi-Cal. It's not a provider, but it's affiliated with Medi-Cal such that at least lab tests will be covered by Medi-Cal as well as prescriptions.
Oh, okay.
And so getting everyone, really as many naturopathic doctors as possible enrolled in that allows us to serve underserved communities at a much greater, make it a lot easier for the patients.
I know there are lots and lots of people who are interested in looking, getting the insurance, getting Medi-Cal. I know AMP is looking at the Medicaid side of things. So thank you. I didn't realize that that was something that was covered. I know that they cover certain lab tests, but this is good to know. Thank you.
Sure.
Mm-hmm. Anyone else?
I see that Dr. Yoon's hand is raised.
Hi, Kathy.
Hi, Dr. Yoon. How are you?
I'm well. I hope you're doing well.
I am great. Thank you.
Good. Good. I have a question regarding the newsletter, the more recent newsletter that the CNDA sent out regarding that NDs can volunteer for being able to do the COVID vaccines.
Yes.
And so I wanted to actually know a little bit more about that process to get the NDs on that list and whether or not there is any movement toward, and I don't know anything about whether or not this is possible for NDs to have independent ability to give vaccines without a supervising MD during this emergency time of COVID.
So this has been an effort since, I think the first letter that I sent out to the DCA that governs this, that would be, and Rebecca helped with follow-up letters with this as well. We were requesting a waiver for the pandemic to allow our doctors to be able to prescribe, to administer the vaccines independently without the supervisory agreement, okay? If you have a supervisory agreement, you can already do it. And then what we did was we created a special agreement so that people could have it to take with them if they wanted to try. So that is very, very close to being approved, that waiver. We're hoping it's going to go through. It's sitting on the governor's desk. So anybody who has any contact and any influence on that, with that, it would be wonderful. A call to the governor's office to say, hey, we know this is on your desk. Would you please approve it? That's where that is. At the same time that we sent the letter to the governor, to the DCA, we also sent something to the head, the superintendent of the Department of Public Health, because when you go to that website and you do the drop-down member and say, I want to volunteer, I am a blah, blah, there is no ND listed. Well, as of 3 days ago, or whenever it was that I sent that out, a couple days before that, they finally did add NDs, but the caveat is in there that you have to have that supervisory protocol in place. All right. So at least you can find your profession there now, which they couldn't before. And that was a frustration for a lot of our members who are calling and saying, we want to volunteer. We're not on there. It's so insulting. And I can understand people's frustration, and I'm sure you felt it. But now at least that's done. And then if we can get this waiver, at least through the pandemic, you can just go and volunteer. I did have Dr. John Neustadt, if some of you know him. He's in San Diego, and he replied to one of those emails and said that he had no problem volunteering at Scripps in San Diego. They didn't question his credentials at all. So it seems that in location to location, it's really up to the decision making of that particular person in charge. They are so desperate down there for people, clinicians, that they were like saying, send them our way. Otherwise, why would they be allowing optometrists and podiatrists to administer vaccines? Sorry.
And thank you so much for that movement. That was
Thank you. I
excellent.
hope it answered your question, but we're trying. That's all I can tell you. We're trying.
Dr. Quinn, is your hand raised because you have a question, or was that from when you first logged on?
No, I do have a question. Thank you. Kathy, thank you for the presentation. What a wonderful, exciting idea to address a major lapse in care. I have a question regarding the mobile nature of these mobile clinics. How mobile are they? Are they at all stationary in any particular community so you can have ongoing follow-up care, or is it more episodic care?
So I think right now, because we're in the infancy of this, and what we come up with the first time will be a mobile, an RV, and that will be the mobile clinic. And it will be stationed somewhere in San Diego. And I think that they have an idea exactly where, but it'll be there for like a 3-month period, maybe moving around. I don't know for sure. And then it's a pilot program. So we want to see how it works. And then if it is successful, the goal is to send them and have them in multiple communities. And that was that one map where it showed the underserved counties. That would be the goal. I mean, the idea of this becoming a successful project that could spur more of them is what we're hoping for. And any suggestions, by the way, because like I said, this is in transition. If somebody wants to get involved in this project, I know this committee would welcome your input. And Dr. Quinn, if you have an interest in that, they would welcome you on that. I mean, they're looking for board members. We're looking for, committee people who can help with getting outreach for fundraising, all of that type of thing. So it really is something that I think will benefit the entire profession if we get it right.
Well, thank you. I am intrigued. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you.
This is Dr. Thompson. I wanted to let everyone know that Rebecca has just let me know she lost her internet connection entirely and she's heading over to DCA. So after we finish the CNDA portion, we will be taking a short break for her to get reconnected. I had both a comment and a question, Kathy. First of all, this really warms my heart as someone who spent a lot of time in community clinics when I was a student. I loved working with the underserved community, and as much as I love my patient base, it's hard not to only be able to serve people who can afford the care, in California now. So I think that this is really something that could bring a lot to the state. And I just wanted to ask, because this specifically addresses underserved communities, if there would be any opportunity for student loan forgiveness for NDs who participate as doctors.
I love that idea. I've felt that would be a wonderful thing to implement if there was a way of doing it, and I don't know how we get it, but I would love to see students who are graduating who would be able to volunteer in areas for student loan forgiveness. I know that they have that, with MDs who go in and serve in those communities. It would be something that, I would certainly entertain, and if we could put the right kind of people together to see how it would be done, I think it would be great. I've always felt that, there was like sort of a gap there where we could, I think that a lot of naturopathic doctors become naturopathic doctors, like you were saying, because they want to be helpful and help with prevention and all that. And because of scope limitations, have had to have their practices go in a different direction. So, this is one way to do it. Loan forgiveness for people who volunteer, that would be great. But I don't know who the partners would have to be. It would have to be, the federal government. It would have to be the colleges. I don't even know, but I'd be willing to work on that if somebody wanted to help.
Thank you. Greta, did you have another question?
Just to follow up, just to comment on the two previous comments. So regarding loan forgiveness, we actually do have loan forgiveness through the federal government for working on Native American reservations. And I'm not sure if that extends to some underserved areas as designated federally, but your contact at the AANP can help you with that. And
so that's for NDs. That's wonderful. I didn't know that.
Yes, that's been in place for several years now. It's partial loan forgiveness, not complete, but it's still significant.
Sure.
And regarding the mobile aspect, I know it's just a pilot project, but I wanted to let you know that Southwest College of Naturopathic Medicine has had a rotation for several years. I think it's still ongoing. I believe it's called Mercy, or the Sisters of Mercy. It's through a Catholic charity, and they do everything out of a mobile home, even though they do use a hall for people to sit in as a waiting room. So if you contact them over there's a ND. His first name is Brad, I think. He focuses on surgery, minor surgery, and he has been working there for many years, but they have many NDs on staff at Mercy. So that might be a great resource for what do you need to equip the mobile recreational vehicle with, how many beds. I think they have 2 beds or maybe 3, I'm not sure.
That's out of Arizona, right, Dr. D'Amico?
Arizona, right.
Yeah, I think I remember hearing something about that and looked into it. I will absolutely bring that to the committee again, because anybody that has a successful example that we can work off of, it doesn't hurt.
Great.
Okay, thank you.
Dr. Singleton, did you have a question?
I do. I have 2 questions. The first is, so this is in regarding to administering the COVID vaccine. So as correct me if I'm wrong, I heard that this is a temporary agreement, so it's possible that that this is not an ongoing agreement with an MD or DO. This is specific for administering the COVID vaccine. Is that correct?
Right. We're working in terms of scope modernization. We're looking at independent prescribing rights that would make this permanent. But for right now, we wanted to get active to at least address this without having to go through legislation. So that when I saw other professions getting waivers, we just went the waiver route,
Sure, that makes sense. And so I'm curious as if, like the gentleman in San Diego that showed up to Scripps and he just started volunteering.
Yeah.
So what would be the ramifications if something were to happen and he did not have a supervisory agreement in place, and yet he's trying to, serve this underserved, right? He's trying to help in the pandemic.
Right.
So what would be the, because I feel like there's some clinicians who would just go out and do it because that is a barrier to volunteering, is they don't know any MD or DO who,
right.
Would do it for free as opposed to being paid, or, someone that would want to stick their neck out for them.
So our recommendation was, that's why we created that specific agreement, so that if somebody wanted to do it and didn't want to have that risk, at least go there, show them your license, show them that we gave them the actual terminology, that, the credentials. And so you could present that at that site. But ultimately, I think if there was a complaint, it would come back to you guys, and you would have to investigate that complaint, right? So I don't even want to say it sounds silly, because every ND, it has the ability to do IVs and to do all kinds of, it's within your, capabilities. Whereas you've got, optometrists, who have been allowed, and veterinarians and whatever, and it just doesn't make any sense. So what we tried to do at the very least is to give you the opportunity to cover yourselves by having that agreement available, and somebody at that site could probably just sign it if they wanted to. But if we get the waiver, it won't be an issue. And Dr. Neustadt, he may have had something in place, but he said they didn't even look at it. So that's a risk that each individual is going to have to assess on their own. I don't even know what more to say about that, right?
Sure, I understand.
Thank you for bringing it up, though.
I
think it's an issue that comes up a lot with a lot of things.
Because some people will want to, and that's going to be the impediment to them volunteering.
Exactly. and that's why we kind of pushed with this, because they're like, we want to volunteer, we feel like we're stymied, and we don't want to jeopardize our license by doing something that could come back to bite us, right?
Understood. Okay. So the workaround is print out the agreement, take it with you to the site, and cross your fingers that someone will sign off on it. Okay.
And it was written by, our attorney, so it's a good, it's a good document, and I think that it'll be, foolproof, so to speak.
Okay. Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Vera, do you have anything else to say? Your hand's still raised.
No, I'm working on taking my hand down.
Okay, excellent, thank you. All right. Kathy, did you have anything else in your presentation?
I really don't. I just really welcome the opportunity. I love show and tell. It's been like, I think 2 years now since I was before you. And even though we're online, I really welcome this opportunity to share. And anytime, I mean, I know that it's regulatory, versus the regulatee, whatever. But I think that, what we're doing is trying to bring naturopathic medicine to the public in a way that's safe and responsible, and any way that we can help, we will. So and we appreciate Rebecca's willingness to give us feedback on, I always like to run things by her when possible, just to make sure that I don't say something out of line. We want to be able to protect our members and our doctors to the fullest extent that we can. So thank you very much for this opportunity.
Thank you so much for being here. At this point, I would like to open for public comment.
This is the moderator, and at the direction of the committee, I have opened the Q&A panel. If you would like to make a public comment, please click on the question mark within the square and locate it in the lower right-hand corner of your screen and type, "I would like to make a comment." All comments will be addressed in the order they are received. I will now pause a moment to allow individuals time to access this feature. At this time, no requests have been submitted. Would you like me to close this feature?
Yes, thank you.
Feature has been closed.
So Rebecca is actively trying to get a different, she's gone to the DCA office to get a different internet connection established. She let me know about 10 minutes ago that it would take her about 20 minutes to do that. So we are going to need to take another 10-minute recess to allow her to get reconnected, because the next section on our agenda, which is the NPLEX, is really something she's been working extensively on. So we do need her for that portion. So I would like to reconvene at 11:27. Hopefully she will be back on at that time. I have told her to let me know as soon as she's connected. Thank you.